Back in 1866, that's a long time ago, 141 years ago, my great-grandfather moved from Macon, Georgia to Reynolds, Georgia to start a business. Now he did that because he thought Reynolds was on the verge of becoming a booming city. I got a newspaper article that hangs in my office that tells that story. You got to understand there were 1,200 people that lived in Reynolds in 1866. And there's still 1,200 people that live there. But it became my lot in life to work in this family business that my great-granddaddy started way before my time. As in most family businesses, my granddad eventually came on the scene and worked with my great-granddaddy way before I was ever thought of. A lot of years after that, my dad came on the scene and worked with my granddaddy, again, way before I was ever thought of. But finally, I came on the scene, and I worked with my daddy and my granddaddy in this general store in Reynolds, Georgia. Their motto, when I was growing up working at the store, and the motto was literally written on the checks. I have copies of those old checks. But their motto was, we sell everything from Evinrude Motors to Hook Cheese. Trust me, they did. Daddy was the Browning gun dealer. Y'all know about Browning guns, right? He was a Wilson Sporting Goods dealer. He was a GE appliance dealer. He sold the first television ever sold in the county. He went to school and learned how to work on them. He dug wells. He put the pumps in. He sold insurance. He gave you a little assurance if you needed it. He sold groceries. He sold meats. He sold Evinrude Motors. He sold Hook Cheese. I remember as a kid, when I was working at the store, a lady would come in, she'd get her grocery buggy. First stop was the produce counter. That's normal, right? When you go in a store that sells among everything else groceries, you go to the produce counter first. I'll never forget what happened there one day. Before I tell you that story, I need to tell you about my dad, though. He lived at the right time. He couldn't get by with this today, I understand that. But Daddy used to love to hug and kiss all the ladies. Now, y'all don't look at me funny. He wasn't a pervert or anything. Everybody loved Daddy, but he was always hugging the ladies, kissed them on the cheek, called them sugar, sweetie. And he got by with that, but we had a Methodist preacher that had moved into town. He was young, had a cute wife. Daddy was always hugging her on her, kissing her on the cheek, calling her sugar, sweetie. They were big buddies. But this lady was kind of bent over the frozen food counter one day trying to pick out her frozen food, and Daddy walked by in his normal kind of fashion and kind of patted her on the backside when he walked by. I said, how you doing, sweetie? This lady liked to turn the counter over. She jumped up and turned around. He was a complete stranger. Daddy said, Lord have mercy, lady, excuse me, I thought you were the preacher's wife. That lady got out of there. I don't know who she was. She was passing through town trying to buy some ice cream. That woman didn't buy nothing, I can tell you that. If you leave the frozen food counter, the next stop was the meat market. This is one of those old-fashioned meat markets. Most of y'all will appreciate what I'm talking about. Some groups I'm talking to don't have a clue about this. But you know, you go into stores today, they've already wrapped the meat, they packaged, they named it, they priced it, you pick out what you want and you go pay for it, right? But this is one of those meat markets that you ordered what you wanted. If you wanted 2 pounds of hamburger meat, you tell the butcher, how about taking that meat right there and that meat right there and mix it together and go back there and grind it for me. If you want a pork chop, bring the loin out here, let me see where on that pork chop you're going to cut that loin, where on that loin you're going to cut that pork chop and whether I even want you to use that loin or not. Again, I was standing in front of that old meat market one day and I was a kid and I didn't realize that the pictures I was seeing would help form me later on in life. But a lady was ordering her roast and the butcher was about to go back to cut it and she stopped him and said, I need to ask you something before you go cut my roast. I said, yes ma'am, what do you need to know? She said, did anybody pass away last night? He said, as a matter of fact, Mr. Jones died last night, so I tell you what, while you're cutting that roast, I'm going to go back in the back and pay my last respects. We had a funeral home behind the meat market at the grocery store. Now listen, you talk about one-stop shopping, now you think about it. Y'all got these super Walmarts out here, you can go in, you can get your groceries, you can get your furniture, you can get your clothes, you can get your medicine. Listen, we were doing that 100 years ago in Reynolds, Georgia. I mean, think about it, Walmart ain't got a funeral home in the back of it, right? It began to dawn on me several years ago that I lived a pretty unique existence. Now you think about it, being in a town the size of Reynolds, Georgia, and being in the business among everything else we did, but of burying people that you've known and loved all your life. I got to tell y'all, I know everybody in Reynolds, Georgia. I've been in everybody's house. I've been in everybody's refrigerator in Reynolds, Georgia. And been in the business of burying people that I've known and loved all my life. I believe that I view life differently than most of y'all.